people and keep cool people. Show you got heart. Now we're playing the game and we're totally scoring. Learning how to make a virtual business boring. Showing up every morning, ready for the show. I'ma get ready. Cold engaging virtual meetings 2.0.
Yay. Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
There we go. There we go. You've got the right idea there.
I think we're in the Metaverse, people. Hey, this
we
is John
are.
Finn. I'm the author of Engaging Virtual Meetings. We're hanging around in the Metaverse. Speaking of the Metaverse, what did I do? I've been walking around the hybrid world this week, and the exciting part of the hybrid world is I tear apart my entire studio, was able to produce 2 programs back to back at the Mayflower Park Hotel down in Seattle. Then I went to plug back my computer back into my main system. I think one of my pieces of equipment might have failed, but it made me crash probably every 3 to 4 minutes in a class that I was teaching. Try that in the Metaverse. All right. Well,
No.
meanwhile, I'm excited to bring our guest here today. We have the one and only. I forgot I'm on stream, so I can't play that song. I have to play you a different intro song.
Oh, darn. But we're both going to know which song it was, though.
So you can imagine it as the song, except it's the
I will.
right version of it.
Okay, I'm going to listen.
Voice of goddess here that's coming in is the one and only Myra Travis.
Hello.
From the Metaverse. Hey, look, we beamed you in.
I'm so glad to have been beamed in. This is so much fun. This is way more fun than any meetings that I've ever gone to. So, so excellent start, I say, John.
Well,
all right, so we're talking about today, don't you?
3, 2, 1. The Metaverse.
Yo, we're talking about the Metaverse now. The first thing that happens, and I don't know about if you feel this way, don't people always ask you, what is that? What is that thing? And right, so what is the Metaverse? Well, I have about 9 or 10 different definitions here. Certainly the easiest definition is that it's a network of 3D virtual worlds, right? So you can't argue with that too much, but there are a lot of other people that see either it having other types of implications. And today, because I'm here as a educational futurist, and if you want to know what that means you're a person who is told one of 2 things. Either, oh, that will never happen, or, oh, that is so yesterday. So you're always in the middle. Right? And it's true. You always are. If you're an educational futurist like me, just don't be one. It's just too painful. So Metaverse, network of 3D virtual worlds.
So Myra, we have, of course, a few of our friends who may not know who you are, right? Make sure and introduce who you are and what you actually do in the regular verse.
Well, I don't know if I can separate them. That's what we're going to be discussing today. But in the real world, I am a senior solutions consultant, and I work managing projects at Guidehouse. Guidehouse is a fantastic company. I really enjoy working for them, and we do all sorts of innovation projects in any area that you can think, in both government and private sector. So that's what I'm doing. I actually work right now at NIAID. I work for Dr. Fauci's team. So go get your shots, ladies and gentlemen, please. Good idea. Just got mine on Saturday, my latest booster. So that is what I do, and I have worked in the area of online, virtual, hybrid education for a little while now.
Well, I got some friends out here. Andrea Kohler's hanging around our Engaging Virtual Meetings Facebook channel. Thank you so much. Chat some questions if you're hanging out there. Thanks, Andrea. Like talking in the meta Facebook verse, right? So it's so weird. A company changed their name to Meta because they think it's so important. So again, your topic today is who are you in the Metaverse? So let's start.
It is. Okay.
Myra.
Let's start with that. So, I made the joke to John, which I'm not sure he completely knew I was joking there, but the who are you in the Metaverse is what I am saying. If we are going to create and be a part of both the real world and the digital world, which is something called digital twinning. So it's a digital twin to any type of a person, place, or thing that happens in the internet, and then in the Metaverse. So if that is what we are, don't we need to start thinking about not just how we get there and what's it going to be like, but who are we when we get there? See, I think that's a real interesting topic, and that's what I'm going to go into in a little bit more detail. But let's start with some of those definitions.
Okay.
So, the definition, as I said, obviously it is something that is very specific. Most people would say it's a model of 3D virtual worlds, but it's also done that way for experiential reasons, but it's also for social reasons. You're going to hear a lot of things thrown around when you talk about the metaverse. You're going to hear things about cryptocurrency. You're going to hear things, right, about the IoT, the Internet of Things. You're going to hear things about blockchain. So all of that and everything that it encompasses is really what you're going to start hearing from everyone. So
Let me,
I did.
Myra,
Go
if you don't
ahead.
mind, I'm
Yeah.
gonna share for those who have never put on right one of these. I can tell you,
Mhm.
at least the experience around here is that you can go to places and they will have this network of 3D spaces. And actually, some of the people that are getting on there, one of their roles is to be a builder. They're just building these like virtual spaces that people can go hang around like later. And so I do think that's one of the parts is that you start usually in a central location. You can either go out and either interact with other people, or you can actually just go interact with other types of things like that. And I do think that is one of the cool things around virtual reality is that it's gotten obviously a lot better and more accessible. I also
It
think
has.
the pandemic added to that because now that people stayed at home, anybody who was looking for the next thing started getting into virtual reality, and I think the number of VR headsets I think has increased quite a bit over the past
It
couple.
has. It has, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But kind of the joke that I made to John is that there's a classic definition of of the metaverse, which happened, is it 2 years ago? But when Mark Zuckerberg decided to change the name of Facebook to Meta, everybody knew something was going on, as I said. And I think he must believe there is a lot of money to be made in them there hills. So otherwise he wouldn't be doing it. So that to me is the joke about the classic definition of it. It really started with a gentleman named Neil Steffensen, and a book that he wrote in uh, 1992, I believe it was. And it was a fascinating book called Snow Crasher, I think it was. Am I right about that? Yes, I think I am. Snow Crasher, 1992.
Yep.
And he was the first one to talk about the metaverse and to describe it. And also, if you're wondering if metaverse, like the internet, is capitalized or not, all I can tell you is there is a wicked amount of discussion about whether or not you should capitalize or not capitalize it. But certainly, I think with Zuckerberg's movement there, he's saying that he believes that the metaverse will be the successor of the mobile internet, and I think that there's no doubt about that. The idea that he has is that the experience of being present inside a virtual world, whether it's a headset or multi-reality environment, is something that we're actually really going to love, and it's really going to change us. And I agree with that part. So that's kind of where it started in 1992. But in certainly the last couple of years, people went, oh, well, we should probably pay attention to that. Now, you notice I'm using the word meta in this presentation, so please don't sue me. It's not his version of it.
Oh, I can see you set me up here, and then Zuckerberg comes to my house
That's
tomorrow.
right. He wants a lot of money from you. Now, I looked up, because I do my due diligence. I'm looking up now, metaverse. What the heck is that? Well, it's a portmanteau. And I went, well, what the heck is that? So I looked up what portmanteau is, a combination of two words, meta meaning beyond,
Yep.
and verse adding on to it from the universe. That's how you get metaverse. The idea that you're going to go beyond what we can now see in our virtual worlds, and that's where it gets my spidey sense up, right? So as a learning professional, I go, now what does that mean for somebody who's in a learning environment who can go beyond their ordinary experience of learning? That's where I start to get really interested. So
Well,
I
we actually too. One of our guests,
Mhm.
here, Sandy Masters, sent us something from the Twitterverse. Speaking of,
yes, play that. That's like there you go.
what was great about this is, and like movies like The Matrix, they said, look, in the metaverse, there's things that we're going to be able to do that you can't do in the real world, right? Because you can do things that don't conform to gravity and other types of things like that, such as like snowboarding here as a yeti, as a flowery yeti.
As a flowery yeti, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that, I mean, in the world of possibility, and again, that specifically for you as a
Yep.
learner, they can
Yep.
do that. Myra, actually, I've seen some VR applications of training. So,
Yep.
for instance, I think I saw T-Mobile ran a simulation which put you in a headset of a store getting robbed, and it turned out that actually, percentage-wise, a lot of their employees were making the wrong decisions that they wanted to do,
Yes,
and that.
yes, and that is such a great point, John, because one of the things that the metaverse will allow you to do, or any virtual or augmented reality piece, no matter how all encompassing it is it lets you make choices that are dangerous choices, but they're safe for you, right? So, you can decide what to do as the FBI agent, right? Or flying the plane that would get you in a whole lot of trouble pretty quickly. And we've had some of those kind of simulators in the past, but now it is the quality and the immersive nature of the experience. In other words, I went to see the Van Gogh exhibit. Have you seen that virtual Van Gogh piece?
I saw about getting a ticket, but I did not visit it.
So cool.
It
You
was
have to,
good.
oh, so great. And
Okay.
at the end of it, because you are really just surrounded by it's like you're walking through his art pieces and it's so evocative. And then at the end, when you walk all the way through kind of the main room, then you go on a VR experience. And what the VR experience is you are literally walking in his hometown. And every once in a while, you will walk into and see a picture, but it will be, for example, the picture or the painting that Van Gogh did of the cafe, right?
Yeah.
So you don't realize that it's the painting until a frame comes around it, and then you go, oh, that's the famous painting. And you walk all through the hay fields in the town, and you end up at the Starry Night experience, right? So
Okay.
you're walking into, just imagine what that feeling would be like, that you're walking into that experience that he painted in the Starry Night. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
Right? So yes, I would say that, and we'll get into this in just a second, a little bit more. We're going to talk about what opportunities do you have in this new fully immersive virtual world. I'm just going to end here by saying one of the big things about um, the meta world is cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And cryptocurrency being commensurate with blockchain, which is, just a virtual way of a ledger of currency that everybody shares, and it's hard to know where it's going and coming from. And but I did hear this little scoopster. Let's really get sued by Mr. Zuckerberg. Now, I heard, and I think it's been reported, so I don't think it's the
Get the
first thing.
handcuffs out. Okay.
That's right. It's been reported that he wants to do something like the game Roblox. Roblox, I'm not even sure how to say it, but they have these specific tokens inside that game. And that is what I hear that he wants to do. Because there's over $1 billion, if you can believe this, of money spent in virtual environments. So my virtual clothes and my virtual house, my virtual car.
Oh yeah.
So
Kids are way into it. Yeah.
right, way into it. And he thinks that he's going to make money by having a single place, right? A single place to have that money come from and to at Facebook. So pay attention to that one.
Sure. Be the bank, right, or be the broker.
Mhm,
So it's like
mhm.
the gold rush, right? Who made the
That's
gold?
right.
It wasn't necessarily all the people who were digging gold. It was like
No.
people like Levi's who were providing stuff for all the people. Donna said Farmville. Yeah.
Farmville. Oh my God. I played a lot of Farmville until they didn't let you have any of your stuff. I think my husband had $3 million or something of Farmville things, and then they just cut it off. That was fun. So let's move on. Let's move on. So this is what I notice. This is what I think about is anytime there's a big step toward acceptance, of true acceptance,
Yeah.
when you're looking at here, 15 point, what do I say here? 81 or 41 billion dollars, right, is spent in the virtual reality market. And then 78% of Americans know what virtual reality is.
That's actually pretty high. Actually, surprise. I guess so. I guess that's true. Even if they don't know, they've never experienced it, but they
Right.
do know what it is. Okay.
But they do know what it is. And that, to me, that name recognition and that understanding of that the concept is really that's an amazing statistic to me,
Yeah.
that people are going that far. So the launch of the breakthrough of the new mobile VR headset, because you remember the glasses and that wasn't really working. And then they went to Oculus, and then Oculus was called Meta. So it's definitely that movement in 2019 has really driven a lot of the experiences now you'll see in the enterprise world of VR, which we're going to go into right now. Let's talk about the enterprise world. How about you guys in there? Anybody let me see what Sandy gave us something there. Don't tell Mark Zuckerberg.
Don't tell Mark
See?
Zuckerberg. Investors have already discovered the metaverse. That's
They're
right.
talking about
We know.
Roblox in that article specifically.
We know, Mark. We know. So we moved to that big movement toward acceptance. We're going to go to the next slide, and we're going to talk about what happens now in the enterprise world. So
Yep.
Accenture alone, I love this statistic, comes from first of all, a couple different places, but the Grandstead Group is one of the people that I'm quoting here, talking about 60K. They just went out and bought 60K headsets for their employees, and that is a big deal to do that. Now you're seeing obviously the prices come down a little bit, but they're all in, I would think, for that kind of virtual training and virtual reality training, and hopefully moving into augmented as much as possible too. And then if you go into that augmented world, real time, game engines made by like Unity and Epic Games. I love this quote here. It's a new generation of software that renders Hollywood and hit video game, right? Quality special effects. That's what we want, right? If anybody who's involved in creating learning like I am, and then you bring your little e-learning, and people are like, no, I want the matrix. So there's a lot of expectations in that area. So that, to me, so the movement in the private sector and the commercial sector, then the movement in the enterprise sector. So let's move on, and we're going to talk about what's next. Now that we have those pieces, everybody, or most people, because if it was everybody, I wouldn't even be here, but most people are talking about, let's talk about where is it? What is a digital twin? What does that mean? Is it going to include 5G? Is it going to have everything in it? Is it going to have some things in it? Is everything going to be connected? So there's a lot of questions there, but I think the most important thing is not where you are in the metaverse, but who you are, right? So here's my question to all of you. How will your experience of being in a fully virtual setting change the way you think, act, and learn? Any thoughts on that?
Anyone can feel free to chime in. I mean, I'll
Yeah,
open up
please.
here, which is, we got a taste of being fully virtual in the past, obviously 2+ years.
Yep.
That's an interesting part where a lot of people, one, did things they never thought they were going to do. Two, right, advanced IT technology quite a far ways. And then three, discovered that they could do a lot more than I think they thought they could. Anybody else want to chime in?
Chime in.
Feel free to unmute if you want to chime in here about how will you experience being fully virtual? I think we already did it. I feel like I'm fully virtual.
Are we fully virtual? Well,
Mimi,
I
you
think.
wanna chime in?
Oh yeah,
Sure,
please.
yeah. Well, I was thinking, I mean, I'll jump in on anything. I used to hot freight trains. So it's like, oh, this sounds like it'll be fun, and I'll just dive in. But it just occurred to me now about behavior, and that I wonder how much I will feel I can be open and speak my mind. Because as we all have experienced, I'm sure there are trolls like on Facebook and in other places. And that's going to be, that's only by text. And it can still have a big impact just in written words. And I'm thinking about how I would respond to trolling, because there's going to be meta trolls.
It's totally going to be.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to have to develop some strategies to keep ourselves safe, just like we do in the real world, right? There are some boundaries that we're going to have to put around our experience,
When, of course, the famous one, of course, is Meta recently put in boundaries between people. They actually social distance your avatars in the virtual reality land because somebody apparently inappropriately touched somebody in the metaverse. So, the
Yeah.
one piece
I'm
about
not surprised.
in all new technology, Mara, this is like what I call the Wild West, which is it's so
Yep.
new now. Nobody knows even what problems are going to emerge. So you have to end up dealing with them right as they come up, right?
I couldn't agree more. And I have to tell you, Mimi, that I did a project where I looked to have people go through a gamified scenario as one type of avatar and then as another type of avatar. So I gave males a female avatar, and then I gave females a male avatar, and then I looked at their behavior. And did they act any differently when they were their own gender or a different gender? So it's that kind of stuff that makes me go, I wonder what happens when you create a persona for yourself, or maybe more than one, right? So this is what I'm asking. Who are you going to be in the metaverse? What if you decide that you're going to be a totally different type of person than you are?
Right.
You're going to have totally different, personality traits, and then you're going to go through that experience, seeing what it would be like if you did that.
Is
Do I
this like
even have to
meta?
be a person?
Right? So you could be a magical unicorn.
But is this kind of like meta catfishing? Where like now that's already starting to occur, where people are not representing who they are.
Right.
Sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's bad. But in that case, when you catfish somebody, is that you fool them that you're somebody else, right?
Well, I think there's going to be, as you say, the Wild Wild West was wild. There was a lot of drinking and shooting going on. So I expect some of that very strange behavior. Because when we talk about boundaries, like to create safe boundaries around yourself in any experience, whether it's virtual or real, or can we even use that word anymore? By the time, give us about 5 years, we're going to have a hard time saying that the metaverse isn't real to us. I don't think it'll take long. I really don't. So that's a little appetizer for the next 5 years from now. But I think some of the things that you've always wanted to do, but social convention and your own sense of ethics has stopped you,
Or
right?
physical abilities?
Absolutely,
Mhm.
right? Absolutely. So, there's how many articles came out about people who jumped off buildings after they saw the Matrix, right? So,
In the real,
it's true. It's like amazing. So, as the lines between the digital and the real world start to really blur and blur and blur, then yes, you are going to have to make a decision. It reminds me of Westworld, right? In
Mhm.
Westworld, when they have to choose, they're going to be a black hat or a white hat, right? And they have to choose, and they're trying to experience either side of that. So
I think Renee, do you have something you want to add to?
yes, please.
Well, I do. That's very interesting about that. We get used to it. Like even just using technology, being on a computer so much. Like I find later on I'm reading a book or doing a puzzle or something, paper on, and I'm trying to enlarge it by scrolling and things like that.
You're trying to pinch
It doesn't work that way. Like,
Oh, that's so funny.
so the fact that I've heard other people do this too. Please tell me it's not just me.
No, it is not.
No, but that's that whole, and the jumping off buildings, that's that whole, you get used to something and it does become a part of what your expectations are out of that context if it's that deeply immersed.
So Mara, I'm going to add on to that, which is that just goes that the humans are not really fragile, right? Humans are incredibly resilient. And what I mean by that is that humans over the last 2 years, for instance, just adapted, right? So, and then the worst part about
Indeed.
it now is you see it now in the inverse, which is we've adapted now to this behavior. And the worst part is trying to come back from it, right? Is that now people did one thing and now they don't want to go back to what was used to quote unquote normal, right? Because now they discovered they like it. I think Great Resignation, like that virtual work is definitely like that, right?
I absolutely think that's true. If you give people freedom, you're going to have a hard time trying to take it away again. And that's really what happened in my mind. The COVID-19 was like What if everybody in the entire world jumped forward a couple years, like 3 years? What if we all decided we're going to jump forward 3 years technologically? Well, I kind of think that's what we did. We all at the same time adopted a standard of technology and virtual communication, even though it was confusing. We had 15 Teams groups and everybody was IMing us, and then we're getting phone calls,
Yeah.
right? And the dog is bothering you and the children are screaming and you haven't eaten for like 50 days because you can't get off the computer, right? So yes, absolutely. We changed. We evolved like we had to come out of the primordial soup on our legs. We just had to do it.
And
So,
Twilio did the research. It said, I've seen different numbers, but 7 years advance in IT.
oh, wow. Okay.
Because people
You see,
have these projects, and we talked about. I was talking with someone else around change, and it just said that we were all capable of this change, but everyone was like, "Nah, well, we're going to do that later. Or we're going to
That's right.
gently bring it in." And then, like when the situation changed, they're like, "We have to have this stuff now." It just shows again how incredibly adaptable people are, and now people don't want to go back. First, they resisted it, and they said they didn't want to do it, and now there's this place going, "Well, I like it this way," right? And
It's true. I mean, the most miserable person I've talked to all week long is a person who has just been in the office for 3 days. And, every time I talk to her, she's like traumatized. It's so hot in here, and, so many things are happening, and I don't have my right computer, and where's my monitor, and where's my, this and this and this. And it's really true that we're not going back to normal. There's no normal anymore. There is no normal.
Well, that's actually the funny joke that we have now. Actually, Myra, the conference I run every October adopted the theme that it's the new norm. And actually, the new norm, right? Well, the new norm is this, which is we meet here, right? Like virtual is easy. That you can actually have virtual meetings that are great. And actually, I feel like we've adopted this part, and the joke is that new norm is kind of like that Cheers character, right?
Right.
It's
right.
It's Norm, right?
Right. That yells Norm.
It's familiar, like an old friend in some ways. And so, yeah, so that's the theme of the conference this year is the new norm. Is like, what can the new norm be?
The new norm. I love it. Well, the way that you're doing what you're doing right now so seamlessly is really hard for a lot of people. Getting engagement, getting people, and, having Sandy ask us, is Meta trying to turn us all into gamers? Yes, it is. Absolutely, yes. We are all gamers now, whether we like it or not, because we are in that kind of a virtual experience. But what you're doing, and it looks so seamless, and I'm just pointing it out because it is not easy for everyone. So some of the things that you talk about in your book to make things engaging, to things that look simple but are actually take some thought behind it, you're on the right track. And no wonder this has been such a productive time for you, because we really need you to tell us how to not bore each other into oblivion.
Can I bring Sandy? Do you want to talk about this gamer thing for half a second?
I'm not a gamer.
Because I was on this part, right? I mean, there's one aspect of it and Renee's here too. We're on the gamification train, which is like, kind of all of life as a metaphor as a game. And then there's the inverse of that, which is that, right? People who aren't playing games around that. So, anyways, yeah, Sandy, what do you have with this?
Well, I don't know. I'm just.
What scares you about it, Sandy?
No, I'm not scared about it. Hey,
you're excited about it.
I was in Second Life.
Right, you mentioned that earlier.
You're not scared of it.
A moment of silence.
Yeah,
for Second Life.
I guess I don't know. Maybe I can't really speak to gamers. Although my 9-year-old neighbor recently taught me how to play chess. And I thought that was so fantastic. He was such a good little teacher, teaching me the different moves, and he had the little chess pieces. So, I understand gaming is important, and bonding, and, all of that stuff, and friendships. And it's someone recently shared information from a Harvard Business Review that is kind of interesting, that I'm wondering, what's really happening here. And it said research shows that our professional and personal networks have shrunk by close to 16%, or by more than 200 people during the pandemic. So what is it? Is virtual really enabling deeper bonds and wider networks, or isn't it? So I'm going to go Google and try to find this article.
do
But
that. Well,
maybe
why
you
don't
want
you do
to
that while we're
comment. Anyone want to comment on what
I-
their research is showing? It.
Yeah, go ahead, Renee.
Well, my comment is I'm very much an introvert. And, when I went to my first online conference, it was awesome because I could interact with everybody at my little table. I had no problems with that. And I've made lots of friends, including people here, right? That I feel more connected with than a lot of people that I've known for years in real life. Because for me as an introvert, it's a lot easier for me to interact in a situation like this than sitting around a table in a real room with the same people. I wouldn't be in the same connectedness with you if I had been going weekly to a happy hour in a bar.
See, Renee, I feel a little bit like when I felt at Microsoft, like we were all geeks, we all got crushed on, when we were younger. And then one day we came here to rule the world. And now what is it like? If the introverts rule the world, right? And just saying that they come out and they're doing more or being more influential or whatever it is. And that's a curious thought to how would the world shift if it was more influenced by introverts rather than extroverts?
There'd be more cats.
Yeah,
and that can only be a
a
good
lot
thing.
more cats.
yeah. Tagging on to that, what is this metaverse going to be like when you get non-gamers like me into the metaverse? Is it going to just mess everyone up?
Okay, well that is a good question, and I want to go to the I think we have the one more slide here, except for the hello slide, is the exploration of it, right? So I think that three things are going to happen. Now, this is my way of looking at it through a kind of a learning lens. I believe you're going to think differently about who you are and what your self-concept is, because it's going to expand, right? And here's this research that I think really does some of the research that was done in mental rehearsal early on for, there was some important Eastern Bloc countries that did that research early on, talking about mental rehearsal, and the brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Now imagine when those lines start to blur more and more and more and more. When you will have an experience which you may think of as being both real and virtual. So I think that is going to impact your self-concept, right? I really do. I think that is going to start making you think more about who you are and, how you choose things. And in a virtual environment, I might do this. I might go a little further here, but I do think that there are going to be changes in the self-concept. I think it's already happened in the post-COVID-19 world. I really do. And so what we said earlier, I think you'll go past boundaries, right? Because you're going to see past obstacles. You're going to be able to mentally rehearse things in environments. I mean, there's a VR application of how to be in a situation where you have to fire your employee, right? You're a team lead, you have to fire your employee, and in comes the guy, and then you get to say something, and then he reacts really badly to whatever you said, and then you get to try that again a few times until you really have developed a much more empathetic and caring approach to that situation that you would not get in real life, right? You would not have that ability to go past those boundaries. So you're going to have safe environments, as you suggest. We might be having very unsafe environments too. But from a learning standpoint, when you think about how you can change your self-concept out of, I am a person who is introverted and I don't like to make friends, to, in this situation, I feel more open to do that, right? So going past boundaries, and then I really think there's going to be a lot of new opportunities. This is what makes me very, 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 very excited about the metaverse. You're going to see new worlds. You're going to go to places. You're going to be able to drop in on the pyramids and walk around and really, you can do that now. But I can't tell you that Van Gogh experience I had really changed me as a person. I felt about his artwork in a way I never felt looking at it on the wall or in a book. And that is what I mean by new opportunities.
Yeah.
you're going to grow faster, you're going to go further, and you're going to think more deeply. So that's why I'm excited about it.
I think one of the key two things I think that are super important here, that self-concept. All right, I'm a strong believer that number one, that people will do anything to stay consistent with their identity, and the ergo from that is that if you can change somebody's identity, such as their self-concept, that you can really either change people or improve people. So the self-concept piece is a very interesting part. Can we do it faster than what we know now? And I think, of like working out is like, or losing weight is a no one. Everybody knows what to do, but getting it people to actually do it is really
Right.
one of the core concepts in self-concept. And then the new opportunities. Yeah, I think we're close to closing with that. But, Mara, what do you see? What are some of your predictions, or what do you would like to see in the metaverse develop over the next couple of years?
Well, I'm noticing here that we're having a mentioning of we've had hard problems with disruptive participants, and there's always a dark side to every technology. So I think we are going to see that. We are going to see things about the metaverse we really don't like. And we're going to see people behaving in a way that really is not socially possibly acceptable. So that boundary thing, I think, is really important. My predictions for the next 5 years,
Yep.
I would say the next 3 years, as soon as, if you think about that difference between 1.4 million and 20 plus million in a very short number of years, once we hit that tipping point
Yeah.
of people being in virtual reality experiences, then I think that you're going to see not only not only adoption of virtual reality, but also mixed realities. So you're looking through things, right? You're hearing something at the same time. It's all happening at the same time. And so I think mixed reality is the next thing on the on the horizon. And I really do think that the metaverse will solidify within about 3 years. And I think Mark Zuckerberg had a good idea there, although I don't know what he's going to do about that currency. Think
Well,
twice, Mark.
but one of the ideas that I had decades ago was what I called digitally enhanced living, right? So digitally enhanced living says that if you and I are talking about any topic, let's just take about flower snow yetis, right? Is that I can actually discover things about yeah, again, we're doing this here. Sandy actually like went and searched out and knew this
He
research.
did.
on LinkedIn,
Yes.
but that's what I get into this part. I mean, I do feel like I get to live a little part of that. Oh, hey, I broke a camera today. Oh, good for me. So that one of the pieces is that I can actually see it. So like I have computer screens up here. I
Right.
can see them immediately. I can actually bring up this information while we have this conversation where it's not disruptive. And I think one of the things we talked about in virtual or augmented reality is
Yeah.
when we had lenses up here is that if it listened to the conversation, right? Myra says something about the metaverse. I can actually start bringing me information about that. And I think there is a place where if I know it helps me. So, for instance, if I meet Myra for the first time, I'm searching her LinkedIn profile.
That's
I'm
right.
going to bring it up sometimes I bring it up during my conversation, and I can actually reference these things on there in real time. And so I'd just be curious to see what happens again in the future with that. I do think that the second part is in technology adoption is that we'll see all these things. Common technology occurs, have some gigantic boost, right? Then it like falls off, which is like there's a falling out period, and then
Right.
you find out whether it really gets adopted later. And I believe all technology has always needed the killer app. So, for instance, electricity by itself is kind of useless, but as soon as you hook a light bulb to it, it's amazing, right? And I have been waiting to figure out what the killer app is for virtual reality. I think it might be meetings, but I
Well,
don't.
interesting meetings, please.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please not die. Yeah. Yes.
So
It's-
I think this is funny. Donna is saying that women's networks hardly shrank at all, but men shrank by 30%. Gentlemen,
I was going through this article and I'm like going, wait a second, women's networks have hardly shrunk at all, but men's 30%. So when you add the two together, it's 16% have shrunk. Wait a
Okay.
second.
we need to think more deeply about that situation. I also think
That
one more thing
headline.
Yeah, that's too much. That augmented reality, things like artificial intelligence and machine learning are going to make a huge difference because they're going to used inside these immersive environments. They're really going to help us to not have to think and do everything that we do on our own.
And you missed
an
our
analog.
guest here. Rachel Kosser was here, and she has this AI technology, right? That comes in, is watching the camera on Zoom, doesn't transmit anywhere, but gives you feedback. And actually, they just released a revision where they're putting new algorithms, and they're putting in new reward systems. And so, you know, she's ahead of most other people, but the reports are that there's a sales team that has increased their sales by 10% by when they follow the prompts that the nudges that you're getting from AI.
That's right, because they're doing some sentiment analysis, some really interesting visual analysis that we can't do all of that by ourselves. So I am a big believer in the co-creative relationship between people and technology. That's where you find me. That's where I'm interested in. And that's why I would talk about the freaking metaverse, because I really think that's the relationship right there.
Well, speaking of find you, where are all the different pieces? If somebody wants to know a little bit more or learn more about your version of the metaverse, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, and it is an ironic. It's M_Travin. I didn't tweet for a few years, but it's because I was waiting for a few things to happen. But now I think they're going to start tweeting again. It's a little bit of an ironic Twitter. And you can also find me at Guidehouse at mtravin@guidehouse.com. Or my phone number. My goodness, don't actually physically call me, text me. We are in 2022. So you can call me, text me there, and look for me anywhere in Washington, D.C., because that is where you will find me. And of course, on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. All right, closing words, Myra. What's one thing that you want people to remember about the metaverse from this conversation?
That you're going to end up being someone you didn't know before. You're going to end up being a different version of you because of your interaction in those virtual experiences.
All right, it's you 3.0, 4.0, 5.0,
Yes,
right?
it's good stuff.
All right, excellent.
Go for it.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you, everyone. This is John Chen. We're here at Engaging Virtual Happy Hour every Friday, 5 o'clock. Hey, you want to be a guest? Come hang out and just send me a message and let me know. I really want to do this part. This year, I've been kind of taking the notion of elevating people that have been in my community and introducing to other people. So I hope you enjoyed this cast. And if you want to come hang out, again, this is really connection before content. Most of the time, we have no agenda when we come here. We've been meeting here since March of 2020. And all I can tell you, Donna, is that I must be some of that percentage, because I really felt my network has actually increased over the last few years. And most of the people that I am hanging around with right now are people that I mostly met on virtual. So we'll see you next time. Hang out here next Friday, 5 o'clock, Engaging Virtual Meetings Happy Hour. See you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Don't we start people and keep old people? Show you got heart.
Dancing.